Welcome to Carpool Conversations, where our goal is to equip parents to have meaningful, Christ-centered conversations with their kids. I am Sara Jones.
And I am Marissa Ray. And today we're really excited to kind of shift gears a little bit. And we're going to be talking about how to invest in your marriage, which I'm very excited about.
Yes. Marissa, today we're going to be pivoting from our normal podcast where we talk about intentionality in parenting to intentionality in our marriage relationships. So we have a very, very special guest that I'm excited for our listeners to get to meet.
I know, yes. And our guest that we have with us today is Genee Francis. So we're super excited. She has been willing to come and join us today in this conversation. She serves on our WinShape Marriage team and is a wealth of wisdom and is going to give us some ways that we can serve and love our spouse even better and help us improve our relationships in our marriage. Genee comes with an outstanding resume of experience. She is a licensed professional counselor with over 20 years of experience in counseling and educating children, adolescents, and adults. She has 2 master's degrees and is currently completing her doctorate in marriage and family at Liberty University. Genee joined the WinShape Marriage team back in 2024 as the Assistant Director of Content and Programming, where she is blessed to integrate her background in education, event planning, family ministry, and counseling to serve couples. So she really does come with a wealth of wisdom. We love that her heart and her heart for marriage came from, she just is grounded in her belief that the covenant of marriage is God's plan for cultivating healthy families and strengthening communities. And she delights in equipping couples to build solid, purposeful foundations that reflect God's love and embody true intimacy.
Ooh, yes.
So we love that. You're in the right place with WinShape Marriage right there.
I love that.
And outside of those things for fun, she enjoys teaching and creating experiences for couples and being a wife and a mother. She enjoys traveling, interior designing, event planning, reading, and spending time with her family, with her husband, Rashad, and their children, Gunnar and Reese.
Yes.
So lots of things there.
Lots of things.
Yeah, you're coming very, like I said, full of wealth and knowledge to this marriage topic today. So we'd love for you to just tell us a little bit more about what your current role looks like within WinShape Camps and what you do on the day-to-day.
Yes. So as you stated, I am the Assistant Director of Content and Program with WinShape Marriage. And there's a lot that's involved there. But for the most part, I'm creating, curating new content, looking at and kind of evaluating old content. I'm also doing a lot of work around our retreats and making sure I'm connecting with our speakers and making sure everything is in order for our retreat weekends.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've loved going to retreats. I've been to quite a few.
Yeah, I was just going to say my own marriage has been blessed by the work that you are doing. And some of the largest decisions that we have made, my husband and I, for our family have been at a retreat.
Yes.
We got away from our normal routines and we were able to hear from God in a really cool, special way.
Good
so
for you.
Thank you for the work that you're doing with WinShape Marriage. My marriage is better because of the work. I know that my husband and I, we will celebrate 14 years of marriage in October. And I remember the first year of marriage was not what I expected.
Sure.
I don't think he expected it either. And I remember a friend who worked for the ministry at the time, she handed me a book called The Excellent Wife by Martha Pease.
Yes.
And I was like, Martha, it was so good. I actually just told a friend that she should read it. She's in her first couple months of marriage.
Good for you.
It just changed the way I viewed marriage and my role as a wife.
Sure.
And that was part of the problem of the conflict that we had in those first years. And so I just want to share a little bit. There's always something that we're working through.
That's right.
Always something. And I was sharing with Marissa that we are trying to decide where our youngest will go to school.
Okay. It's a big decision.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
We've decided for our first what was best. We didn't agree on that. And now when she was starting kindergarten and now we're not agreeing again.
Yeah.
And so just
That's
what that
real.
process could look like. And I would love to hear from both of you. How long have you been married, Marissa?
Yeah, so my husband and I will be celebrating 3 years in August, so we've got a few to catch up to you. But yeah, we are in the midst of toddlerhood. We have a little 20-month-old son and another son on the way. And so, yeah, we are just in the season of learning how do we parent together with the new season of what a toddler brings. And, you know, how Sara was saying, we have different ways that we've been raised and like different ways we've seen parenting. And so how do you walk through that in your marriage and with your kids, and
That's right.
what is the Lord asking you to do in the way of parenting? So that's where we are, and only 3 years in. And like you said, marriage is hard, but it's holy, and definitely something that you have to work at. But we've been grateful to do it together. And yeah, so we are just in the midst of toddlerhood.
That's awesome. What a beautiful time. I say that it's a busy time too, though.
Yeah.
We are celebrating 17 years. Rashad and I have been married for 17 years. And so we've got the boys, and they're 9 and 11 right now. Okay. And so we are kind of navigating balance. Like, how do we balance? The boys are booked and busy. I say that like they are literally booked with all the things. We've got sports, and they're both playing multiple sports. We've got piano. We've got trying to keep them involved in church and different things. And so we are in a season that's super busy, but historically, Rashad and I have always valued our time as a couple. And so one of the things that he prioritized in the new year as we were setting our yearly goals is that we are going to be intentional to set the dates, put them on the calendar for us to have our date nights and our times of connection. And so we have had several of those. It's just April, and we probably already had maybe, half a dozen. And so it's been really beautiful seeing how we can create space amongst all the busyness and all the noise.
Well, I think even with just having a 20-month-old, like we're already seeing, like it gets hard very easy. Like your marriage can for sure take the back burner. Not that you're doing that on purpose, but when you're trying to parent and you have life with a kid that makes it busier, like it's really easy to fall into those patterns of like, okay, we're on the back burner right now. We'll go on a date night at some point. But right now it's just not going to happen. So I love that y'all have started out your year intentionally like planning for that, because that's what it takes when you have kids. And that really does lead us into, I know we mentioned earlier about the marriage retreats, and that is such a cool way for parents to take advantage of a weekend away and prioritize their marriage. And like I said, my husband and I have done multiple, and I know Sara and her husband have. So I'd love for you to just let everyone know a little bit about what the marriage retreats are that we offer, and also anything else that our Marriage Foundation has to offer for couples.
Absolutely. We've got a beautiful retreat in Rome, Georgia, located at Berry College, and it's just a beautiful sequestered setting, where the Lord is able to really just transform these marriages weekend by weekend by weekend. And it's just a beautiful thing. We've got marriage retreats for all seasons of life. And so we have what I'll break down, let's just say 4 different categories of retreats. We've got enrichment retreats, which kind of serve more as the maintenance, looking for couples who are just looking to connect and just to have some time away to just really reconnect with each other, really focus on God, and then have space to be able to learn and grow with other couples. So our enrichment retreats range in topics from intimacy to communication, all kinds of topics available for those retreats. And then we also have what we call our clinical retreats, or therapeutic retreats. And the reason why they're called therapeutic retreats is there's an element of counselors on site. And so we've got the journey, which is for couples who maybe don't just need the maintenance element, but maybe not all the way in crisis, maybe walking through some seasons of transition and just really in need of some support along the way. And so those retreats are designed for couples who are just kind of in that middle space. And then we also offer marriage intensives, which are for couples who are in crisis. And so couples who are walking out anything as, just life transition, but even if they're walking out abuse or affairs or any type of addiction patterns, that is a safe space for them to come and really process through that. And then the 4th bucket is our ministry leader and pastor retreats. So they're designed really for people who serve full-time in ministry. And it's a place for them to come and rest and relax with their spouse. And that is so needed for our ministry leaders. And so it's a beautiful offering that we have as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I've been on a marriage retreat every year for the last 8 years.
Oh,
and
that's
I'm
awesome.
married to a marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
And it's nice to get fresh, new ideas
Yes.
from the speakers that you hire. And we get something wonderful out of every retreat.
That's awesome.
The way that you care for your guest, like the attention to detail is met, the food, the way my sheets are turned down on my bed, every moment wholly on the bedside, like we feel really cared for.
Yes.
Our last retreat we attended was called Soul Care.
Yes.
And I have probably told more people about the retreat just because of the impact that it had on our own souls.
Yeah.
And the prayer walk that you do. And there was a violin player playing How Great Is Thy Faithfulness. Like I will never forget it.
Yeah.
And then I get to pray and intercede on my husband's behalf. And then he is praying and interceding on my behalf. It was such a beautiful time. So if you're listening and you need a marriage retreat, go to Soul Care, look it up.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
But the attention to detail, the food is like no other. And so again, my marriage has been blessed because of the work.
I love that.
And so I would love to know for someone who's listening, if they live like further away, like what sort of resources can you give for maybe somebody who cannot come to a marriage retreat?
You know, WinShapeMarriage.org is the website, and there are so many different resources that I highly encourage couples to access. There are date night ideas, there are conversation starters, there are some articles on just a range of topics that could really bless couples. There's also our podcast. We've got the WinShape Marriage podcast. And so there are episodes are listed on that website. You can also access those on Apple Music and on Spotify as well. Yeah. So there are I would say a plethora of resources available on WinShapeMarriage.org.
Okay, good.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've pulled up, I think you'll have one resource like questions that you can just ask each other, for a long car trip or things like that. So it's just fun to see all the resources that we have and that are available because we can tell y'all put a lot of time and effort into them and providing them. So I love that. And as Sara said, if anyone needs a retreat, go look to sign up for one because they fill up fast
they
too.
Do.
I feel like every year my husband and I are like, we needed to get this on, like you said, on the calendar first thing this year or they're going to fill up. So, well, Genee, we know that, marriage retreats are so important. Time with just your spouse is so important as you're prioritizing your marriage. But we also know a lot of couples, as we said, it's easy to get into this season where they're just like, trucking along, it's just kind of just coasting and maybe not having the time to prioritize their marriage or it feels like they can't. And so we'd love for you to just share maybe some advice of what they should be doing. Like if they want to keep that connection strong, but they feel like they don't know where to turn or how to do that. What advice would you give a couple who may be in that season right now?
Yeah, I think prioritization is just the first piece of advice. Really prioritize the marriage. And it's so hard with juggling career and children and all the things. It's really easy for marriage to get left out or to get the leftovers. Yeah. And so one of the things that we have to really prioritize is giving our marriage our first fruits. And, that is a big task when you think of it that way, but I think that is what the Lord has called us to do in marriage. Yeah. This is supposed to be our primary relationship and the foundation of everything. Yeah. And so just really learning how to connect with your spouse on a consistent basis. There is something that I have shared with couples for years, and it's the 3 T's. And so I think you can start as basic as talking, touching, and spending time together every single day. And really making sure that you are prioritizing that and protecting it because it can absolutely get put at the very bottom of your to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that protecting it verbiage is so good because you can prioritize it, but things come up.
That's
and
right.
If you don't protect it, I feel like it gets so easy to let slip to the side.
Yeah, we had to implement, we call it couch time every single day for your talking tea.
That's right.
And we tell our kids, you do not interrupt us unless this house is on fire.
Listen.
Do not look at me. And if you come in and we don't even make eye contact with them until we're done.
Yeah.
Like we are going to connect for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Do not interrupt.
I love that.
I also heard a really great, your 3 T's. It was Craig Rochelle. who has a church in Oklahoma. He spoke at a marriage conference that I went to, and he talked about the 3 ways that he connects, which I thought was good advice. He said face to face, shoulder to shoulder, belly button to belly button.
There you go.
And so I thought,
that's that touch.
Yeah. I was like, okay, Craig. But it stuck with me, and I've like shared that with other couples.
Absolutely.
When you're trying to prioritize your time and intentionality, like how are you connecting with your spouse?
Absolutely. And I love that you said 15 minutes, right? I think sometimes when people think about touching, talking, and spending time, we don't have time for that, right? But it can be as short as 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you have, commit to it. Couch time is a great practice. I also think, and what I call couch time is a shared ritual. These are daily shared rituals that we have committed to so that we can prioritize being able to connect with one another on a daily basis. And so there's couples who wake up early and have coffee together, right? And that is also something that works for some people's schedule. I just think being willing to think outside the box, look at the current season, instead of focusing on what we can't do, focus on what we can do. So it may look like, a quick little prayer time together in the evening before bed, but it may look like a walk during my break during the middle of the day. You just have to figure out what can we do in this current season.
And I realized like I needed to make eye contact to make sure like he knew I was listening, and for me to know that I was truly listening to what mattered to him. I think the Gottman Institute calls it throwing bids.
That's right.
If you're familiar
bids for
with
connection.
Yes. And I was missing a lot of bids.
Absolutely.
Janae.
We do.
And so I was like, I've got to just make eye contact, and he might be sharing something that I don't really care about, but it matters to him.
It matters to him.
And the way that I respond can be a connection maker or breaker.
That's right. That's right.
So good.
I love that.
Yeah, so true. Well, we know that this podcast is for parents who have kids in the house with them that most likely aren't, launched yet or anything like that. And I bet many of them want to model what a healthy marriage is to their kids.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice that you would give them to be more intentional in that modeling? We know kids watch what their parents do.
That's
and
right.
I know my husband, every day he comes home from work and he's very intentional to come hug mama first. And then my son sees that and he's like, hug,
Aww.
something as small as that, like
That's
as a toddler, he's already picking up on.
That's right.
So what advice do you have to give to parents to be intentional in like modeling a good marriage for their kids?
Absolutely. I think the first thing is serving together as a team. Everything being about a team. So not just being present as a team, but making decisions as a team and using that language out loud. I've got a 9 and 11-year-old, and my husband will tell them in a second, you know what? We are the decision makers. And so I got to check with mom. And my youngest son always says, why do you always check with mom? He says, because we are a team.
That's right.
So we name it to our children and help them not only to see it, but also to hear it and understand it. I think that alignment is so important because, again, if you're making decisions together and if you're moving together, then that helps. And it really makes children feel it gives them a sense of stability and security as well. And I think that's the other part that we don't think about is how it's not just helps to model them great behavior for a marriage, but it also helps them to feel very secure on the inside. Right? And that's what we all want as people, is that sense of security. I think the other thing is to forgive openly. And we all make mistakes. We're all flawed. And so there's always opportunity to make decisions together, right? To move about life together, but also to forgive openly. Let them see you being affectionate with one another. I think that's healthy, and that models very healthy marriage behavior. So I think there's a few different things that we can do. And sometimes we shy away. I just heard somebody the other day, I was talking to a couple, and we don't want our children to see us disagree. We don't want our children to see us cry. And we have to teach our children. We need to teach them in a way that gives them the emotional intelligence for later.
That's so true.
And the Lord gives us all emotions. And so it's okay to express them as long as we're doing that in a safe and healthy way. So all of that.
Yes, and to be able to move through it.
That's right.
And together.
That's right.
I've had lots of practice repairing relationships in front of my kids. Just because I've needed to. And so if anything, I'm like, my brokenness will be on display for them to see. Like, one, I need a savior, but also I can repent and ask for forgiveness.
That's right.
If I can publicly get angry in front of them, with my spouse, I can publicly apologize.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it takes humility and maturity to do that.
Doesn't it though?
So that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I need a lot of dose of humility. So, which is so cool because I feel like the Lord has been kind in his generosity. I've had lots of moments to model that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Is there anything else? I know this has been so helpful, a wealth of information. Is there any advice you would give a family who's just navigating like you're in the trenches of like toddlerville. And I remember like saying, I can't leave my kids to go on a retreat.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law, I only trusted my mother-in-law to keep, my kids. And now I'm pretty like mass text all the babysitters. I'm like,
anyone and everyone.
who wants to babysit my kids?
Yeah.
Yes. But once I was finally able to leave her to come on a retreat, I was like, I needed that so much.
That's right.
And now I'm like burning rubber out of the driveway, for the weekend away. We come back better, but they are better because someone else cared for them, who loves and cares for them. But any advice you would give someone who's like struggling to get away, to say, I can't leave my kids?
Absolutely. I think there's many reasons why people struggle. And I believe in attachment parenting. So I believe that we want to foster secure attachments with our children. And with a secure attachment, I love you and I care for you deeply and very well. And I make sure that your needs are well taken care of. But I can also leave this room and you not see me.
Yes.
And you're okay.
Yes.
And I am okay. Right.
Yeah.
And so just fostering healthy relationships and healthy attachment dynamics is so important, not just in your parent-child relationship, but also in their future relationships moving forward.
Yeah.
So I would encourage parents to know that you said it so beautifully. Other people will love and care for your children well, and that break is not just for you. Sometimes it's for them as well.
Yeah.
I think about even as a child how many things that I learned uniquely from my grandmother that I would not have learned from my mother because they do things different.
Yeah,
and so those experiences create just new opportunities for me back then, but for our children to be able to learn and grow. And the other thing, it fosters the connection and the relationships that are so precious and prized with other people.
Yes.
So sometimes just being able to kind of think beyond this moment and understand how these things will impact you in the years to come and in your relationships to come.
Amen. I just spoke at my grandmother's funeral because she had such a beautiful impact on my life because my parents left me with her.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
These grandparents are precious.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Genee, thank you so much for being with us. Yes. We end our time with a question for parents to ask their kids as they're tucking them into bed or when they're sitting in the car in carpool, or I say trapped in the car in carpool. But we want our families to be intentional with their kids in their conversations at the dinner table and in the car and all the ways. But our question that we are going to end with for families to take back to their kids is, what qualities are you going to look for in someone to marry one day? Isn't that good? And then why are those important to you? So what qualities are you going to look for in someone to marry one day? And why are those important to you? So I hope you get some good answers. Marissa, thanks. Genee, thanks.
Thank you.
Book your marriage retreat a year in advance. You will not be sorry.
I love that. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, guys.